This book was hidden and not published until 70 years after the author wrote it. It was published when he was dead, and only when his family were not scared anymore of publishing it, because it was so against its time, and its principles would throw off a little bit everyone, right? The context and the content of this book were extreme. And in this book, in this episode, I'm going to tell you about all of the lessons I've learned from reading this book and what you can take from it, especially if you're in a place where you're stuck, or if you just want to succeed and attract better things, if you want to make I'm going to tell you. In this video, I'm going to tell you the 7 principles for outwitting the devil in your life. Because this is the book. It's Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And listen, before you decide if you want to read it or not, or if you want to listen to this episode or not, just let me tell you a little bit about it. Listen to a little bit of it and then decide whether you're going to listen to the entirety of this episode or not, right? Because it's going to be insane. Like the things that I took from this were actually very, very useful. So I'm going to talk to you about the 7 principles for outwitting the devil in your life. Sometimes maybe things are not working out in your life, and it's because of some specific elements, right? So I'm going to tell you about it. How to make the law of attraction and manifestation work for you and achieve anything you want. How to be failure-proof and succeed no matter what happens. How to know exactly what to do to get what you want. Have a clear and precise plan. How to be a part of the 2% of the population that always get whatever they want from life, that are happy, successful, free, and live with an abundance with no limitations. This is basically, the 2% are non-drifters. And in the book, he talks about, Napoleon Hill talks about drifters and non-drifters. Drifters are the people that are not really decided about their life. They're not definite and decided, right? Decisive. And they always drift in some way. Non-drifters are someone that is completely decisive and knows what he wants and is going to get it, right? And oftentimes, these people are pretty rare, right? So if you want to be about a part of the 2%, you got to start by deciding right now whether or not you're going to listen to this episode, or whether or not you're going to read the book as well. And you need to decide. If you don't want to listen to this episode, it's okay, right? But as long as you just decide, you're definite, right? I don't want all what I talked about right now doesn't interest you don't think it's going to serve you, don't listen to it. But if you think it does, decide right now that you're going to listen to it, right? So, by the way, if you're new here and you don't know who I am, and you should maybe think, why should I listen to you? My name is Ivaldi Sako. I went from being a broke personal trainer from a poor immigrant family in France to working with millionaires around the world, and now building up my own business up to 7 figures soon. And on this podcast, I just document what I learn every week. I condense everything that I learn in one very, very valuable episode of knowledge that I transmit to you with action steps that you can get right from this episode to actually change your life. If this interests you, if you want to be truly free and successful, this is the podcast for you, and I encourage you to subscribe, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you are someone that wants to grow, really, in any area of your life, whether it's financial, spiritual, emotional, physical, being truly free in all these areas of life. This is what I want, and hopefully I can help you do the same. So let's get into it. I took a lot of notes, right? A lot of notes. And I'm going to read to you the most important ones here. And let's get into it. So, you must be guided and listen to your other self. These are basically notes that I wrote to myself. I'm going to give them to you, right? These were very important to me. I think they're going to help you as well. You must be guided and listen to your other self, the one guided by faith, and not the one guided by fear. This is, to me, I'm a Christian, right? And to me, this is the equivalent of, to me, I believe in the Holy Spirit, right? I believe in Jesus Christ, and this is the Holy Spirit that he talks about. He talks about another self, someone like some spiritual thing, some place in your mind that helps you tremendously. It guides you, it makes you have great ideas and move in faith, right? This is the most important thing. Move in faith. And this is very hard to do by yourself. But when you have this other self, when you have the Holy Spirit with you, you are guided and you are unafraid and you can do a lot of things. He talks about this. And let me get this, just something really quick here, just to make sure I don't go over time. And yeah. You must live as though you had no limitations, with faith that everything that you need will come to you at the right time. The other self helps you translate your plans into reality, and it begins with your major and more pronounced desire at the moment. And to me, desire begins with pain. This is not something that is written in the book, but to me, oftentimes when you really want something, it's because you can't have it. You didn't have it. You have a pain associated with that. You really want people to respect you because you had been disrespected, right? You really want to be wealthy because you were poor. You really want to grow in a big business and be important, to have the status, because at one point you felt like you were not important. You felt disrespected. You felt like you were nobody, right? And now you want to be somebody, right? Someone that everybody looks up to, right? Or maybe it depends, right? Maybe you were weak sometimes and it created pain. And so you had the intense desire to become strong, right? So everything becomes with the desire, and you need to really create a really big desire in yourself to achieve something, to do something. Now, I talked about living with no limitations. You must live as though you had no limitations, with faith that everything that you need will come to you at the right time. This is, for example, Napoleon Hill in the book, he talks about how he had this intuition that he had to go somewhere, right? And so he went there, he booked a hotel because he wanted to meet someone that was very important. And he booked a hotel, and he booked the hotel that he wanted most, and that was actually going to help him the most, like most probably going to help him meet this person. And so he booked a hotel that was way above his means, right? He had no money, he was broke, and he booked a hotel like at $1,000 a night, something like that, right? And he didn't have the money, right? He booked like 2 nights or something, and then because he acted with no limitations, things started happening that he actually met someone. I think he met someone that was able to help him stay in here for longer, right? He paid his hotel bills basically, and things of this nature happen when you actually go and you have true faith, right? And you pursue your goal with definiteness of purpose. You want this, you're going to go and get it, and then God, the universe, whatever you believe in, will open doors for you, right? Things will happen because you act with faith, with no limitations in mind. You're going to actually get to where you want. Not necessarily in the way that you think you're going to, but doors are going to open up for you. The other self helps you translate your plans into reality, and it begins with your major and more pronounced desire at the moment. But you must guard yourself and guard your mind of any thoughts which seek to limit you in any manner whatsoever, because this will prevent you to get what you want. Any thoughts like doubtful thoughts, or thoughts of poverty, or not enough money or time or energy, right? All these things, I don't feel like it. I don't know if I have the energy to do that. I don't know if I have the time. You have to act like if you had anything, if you had no limitations, if you were coming from a place of full abundance, right? Make your decisions based on that. Make and take actions based on that. Always act as if you had no problem of limitations. You have all the money you need because it will be given to you. Your other self will remain in charge and continue to direct you as long as you rely upon it. Keep doubt and fear and worry and all thoughts of limitation entirely out of your mind. I think this is a quote from the book. When you are guided, you have some kind of intuition, right? Some kind of idea that pops in your mind. You don't know where it's come from, right? Some kind of, what about this? I could do this. And this is the first thing that comes into your mind. And when you notice this, you follow your intuition and you let your other self guide you. You let the Holy Spirit guide you. And I wrote to myself, continue to go on long walks and clear your mind in nature, as it is in these moments that you can hear the thoughts of the other self. The thoughts of the other self, you cannot hear it right now, most likely because you are bombarded with information. You have way too many distractions. You're watching Netflix, you're reading books, you're listening to podcasts, you're watching YouTube videos, you're listening to a lot of people talk and give you advice on this and that. You have too many things on your plate, and so you go on social media, you're scrolling, you're watching all these videos and all these influencers or anything, right? All these things make a mess in your mind, right? And it's not just noise on the moment when you're listening to it, it's noise that stays in your mind. And so you need time to clear your mind of all these things. Once you, for example, for a day or two, you don't listen to anything, right? You don't go on social media at all, you just clear your mind for 2 days. And then when you are in silence, you can actually be opened to hear the voice of the Holy Spirit to talk to you. This other self that Napoleon Hill talks about. You can hear these ideas that germinate in your mind, just like these kind of intuitions that you have. And this happens in silence. When you are in noisy places, when you are noisy in your mind, you have too much noise in your mind, it doesn't happen. You cannot listen to it. You can't hear it. There's too much noise, right? You need to clear it, and then ideas start to germinate in your mind. Next note, indecision. And maybe this is one of the most important one. Indecision is the worst state you can be in. Right? Indecision is the worst state you can be in. This is what differentiates drifters from non-drifters. Drifters are always indecisive. Indecision is always their habit. But non-drifters are definite. They know what they want and they decide. And they let no thoughts in their mind without having put an end on it, right? You have sometimes a lot of projects going on. You have like all the projects, all the things that you haven't decided on, they stay on your mind, right? And this creates a state of indecision, a state of I don't know what to do, right? And this makes you paralyzed. This paralyzes you from moving forward, from doing things, right? And so you want to be definite always in all time, right? Be decisive. And one of the worst states to be in are also fear and doubt. They follow indecision. Indecision, fear and doubt, these are things that you want to be completely away from and be instead decisive, unafraid, and full of faith. In the chapter 2 is named A New World is Revealed to Me, right? And so he realizes that faith is a sixth sense. It's like a guardian, I'm French by the way. It's a guardian angel that gives you the guidance needed. To me, it's the Holy Spirit, right? What he talks about to me, I've experienced it and I felt like it was the Holy Spirit. I'm a Christian, this is what I believe in. I think this is the Holy Spirit that speaks to you, that guides you, right? And I have a sense that Napoleon Hill believed that as well, but he put it in a way, in words that people that are not Christians also would be able to use this, right? I must pray. I wrote this to myself. I must pray before challenges come, not just when they have problems, because this is something that the advice that Napoleon Hill also gives. you must pray, right? You must pray to God, to the universe, whatever. I mean, to me, I think you better pray to God, right? But you must pray before challenges come, not just when they come in, right? They come and then you pray in neediness. You need to pray without having this neediness, like you just almost begging. Praying is not begging. Praying is asking. And Napoleon Hill almost like, I think he says, praying is like you demand this. You demand, you ask for it, and you demand it. To me, I think it's, I believe in God and Jesus Christ. I think I ask for it, right? I don't beg for it, but I don't as well demand it. I don't know what is, like, I'm not certain what is the best thing for me. God knows better than me, right? So I ask for what I want, I think is best for me, but I don't demand it as well. By the way, there's a lot of things in the book and with Napoleon Hill that I don't necessarily agree on, but there's a lot of truth that he says that are extremely useful, right? If you're a Christian and you're watching this and you're listening to me, Napoleon Hill is not right now having a Christian perspective on it. There's a lot of things that he says that are not driven by the Christian faith. But still, there's a lot of things where you can join in with your beliefs and join in and see that all these things actually, like, you can apply them and they actually work. I must pray and give thanks for what I already have, to be worthy of what I already have, right? Sometimes you're not grateful for what you have right now, and maybe you're not using what you have right now. And so what you're not using, when you're not grateful for right now, it will be taken away from you, right? For example, when you don't use, for example, your ability to speak English like me right now. It's been a while, I haven't been recording a lot of episodes and speaking in English. And so I'm losing this ability, right? If you don't use your legs for a year, I can tell you, like, you're not going to walk properly after that. If you're not grateful for where you are right now, somehow you're going to create an environment where you don't want to be in this type of environment, and so it will be taken away from you, right? If you're not grateful for what you already have that is good, you won't have better things, because somehow, like, you're not going to do actions to get more things if you see that what you already have is just like, you're going to be in a negative state of mind, right? Next, through prayer, I will get a plan or the next few courses of action to take that I must follow with action, right? This is what you get. You pray not for things to happen for you, right? The law of attraction, manifestation, like, I think about it and things will happen. No. You pray and then you get a plan. This is the answer to your prayers. You get a plan, you get ideas, you get some things that are going to guide you toward what actions to take. Then you must take action. This is the thing, right? You pray for a plan. Then once you have the plan, you act on it. Next note, belief becomes reality. What you believe is going to be your reality. If you believe in God, God is going to be real for you, and you're going to see and experience things that, oh my God, you are actually real. This is what happened to me. When I didn't believe like that, I didn't believe that much in God. It's just like, I didn't care. Nothing happened to me. Like, I had just bad things happen to me. I just had bad environments. I was not grateful for anything. I was in a negative state of mind. So what you believe actually becomes your reality. If you believe you can do something, you're going to actually take the actions to do it, and then you're going to get the results. But if you don't believe you can, you can't actually, because you're not going to do it. The devil tried to muzzle Napoleon Hill right before becoming successful. And he has an interview with him where he can ask him all the questions he wants, because he has been able to notice every time the devil suggested thoughts to him and try to gain control over his mind, right? Sometimes you have these negative thoughts that come into your mind. These, negative thoughts. When you notice them and you are aware of them, because you are able to be in silence, right? In silence, you can hear both these things. When your mind is just a mess, you cannot make the distinction between God's voice and the devil's voice, right? You cannot make the distinction because you can't hear really both, right? So maybe sometimes you're going to get an impulse or an instinct, or you're going to feel like it's an instinct, but it's really like the devil trying to suggest to you things that seem appealing right now, but are really going to distract you from what is going to actually help you. The devil suggests his thoughts to him, and he gained control over his mind. No, this is what the devil tried to do. And then, because he was able to control his mind, Napoleon Hill, at least this is how he explains it, he was able to have an interview with the devil, where the devil needs to be truthful, and he has to answer all of Napoleon Hill's questions. And he doesn't say, is this really the devil? Is this the devil of his own mind? He's just created it's just his imagination, maybe, right? He doesn't say. I do believe maybe it was actually the devil, right? It is a possibility for me, because the way he says it, sometimes it actually makes sense, right? I really suggest you read the book. If you are interested right now in this episode, it's going to serve you to read the book. So, the thing that I wrote down from the devil's answers and how Napoleon Hill asks questions to the devil. The devil's goal is to be able to gain control and occupy as much space as possible into human minds, right? And he gets even more power when these minds die because they join his team. The devil said that if someone dies with a little bit of fear inside of them, they join him after death, right? Now this is something that I wrote to myself. This might be something that the devil actually says and does to scare people off, right? But, wow, I need to die with no fear to be able to just not go in hell, right? This is what, to not join his team. It's scary. It's very hard to do. Now, I do believe the goal is to die with no fears. This is the best thing to strive toward. But I don't think necessarily if you have a little bit of fear, you're going to join his team. I don't think this is the case. Then he talked about drifters. People who go through life without an aim, without a definite purpose. They are lazy and don't want to think for themselves. This is the most important thing. Think for themselves. Drifters are just followers. They just go through life. They wander through life. And these are 98% of the world's population, which he has control over, the devil. The 2% remaining are people who are thinkers. People who think for themselves, who have a definite goal and go after it. Self-control is what the devil is trying to prevent people from having by helping them drift, right? And he does that since they are little kids. He drifts, he baits them, and he makes them go through and enter into bad habits. And to do that, he uses different weapons, such as laziness, lust, greed, vanity, egotism, and also procrastination, which is what drifters are. They are procrastinators. He also said that the devil is in every single thing in the world, but he is the negative part of the atom. Not but he is the negative part of the atom. And his opponent, which we call God, is the positive force of the atom, right? One of the destructive habits that he has people in, right? He gets people into this habit. It's smoking cigarettes and also liquor. And in the book, Napoleon learns, because the devil tells him all the negative side effects of smoking cigarettes and of liquor, right? Of alcohol. And he gives him all of these detailed explanations of why it's bad and what it does to the body. And all of this was not known yet when he was writing the book. He was ahead of his time, right? So maybe it was actually the devil talking to him. This is like some kind of proof that it was something that he couldn't know that he was like, he had insights on at that time. He also had predicted the World War, like the World War II. He predicted that because he says that the devil was working. The devil says, but it's Napoleon Hill writing, right? So he writes that the devil is telling him that he's working on a second world war, right? And he's writing this in 1938, before the 1939 to 1945 World War II, right? Also, the devil uses parents, school teachers, religious leaders to create fear inside of children's mind. When they do, like, put fear inside of them, they are afraid to think for themselves, and they make them believe that it is useless to think for themselves because they give them exactly what to think immediately, right? They just, okay, this is what to think, this is the way. Or in the school, learn this. You don't need to think what to learn. You don't need to think for yourself. You just need to memorize, right? And this is how he ends up winning over them, because then they don't have this ability to think for themselves and to be decisive, to know what they want, to learn what they want, right? And so they just drift through life. He triggers people with a bait to start drifting, using tools like love, the thirst for sex expression, the thirst for sex expression, covetousness for money, the obsessive desire to gain something for nothing, which is gambling, vanity in women, egotism in men, the desire to be the master of others, desire for intoxicants and narcotics, desire for self-expression through words and deeds, desire to imitate others, desire for perpetuation of life and after death, desire to be a hero or heroine, I don't know how to say that, and a desire for physical food. He uses all these things to bait people, to just, love is not necessarily a bad thing, right? But he uses sometimes love, or maybe what seems like love, to make you drift, to start the one negative deed that will start make you doubt. Oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I move in with my girlfriend? This is love. Right? And then you move in and then you start drifting. You don't know, you're indecisive, and this is like a domino effect. Like you just push one button and just like the other domino falls, and it becomes way too hard to stop. And this is what he's going to talk to you afterward when he's going to talk about hypnotic rhythm, which I'm going to get to. Now, he also gave a list of 10 things to make sure the devil cannot make us drift. And the ultimate recap of that, right? If you want to get the 10 things, go read the book, right? If you want to get the 10 things to make sure that the devil cannot make us drift, get the book. You can even download it on a PDF for free on the internet, right? You go look up like Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill, PDF, you're going to get it. And read it in its entirety. If you think this is very useful to you, go read it. You can even stop watching listening to this episode, right? I'm telling you, it's not benefiting me from, pushing viewers or listeners off this podcast, but it's going to serve you tremendously. So, the recap of all these 10 things, the culmination of all these 10 things was that be definite in everything you do and never leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. Form the habit of reaching definite decisions on all subjects. I'm going to repeat that. Be definite in everything you do and never leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. Form the habit of reaching definite decisions on all subjects. Then he talked about a hypnotic rhythm, which is a habit. It's where a habit becomes a rhythm. It's so habitual that there's a rhythm to it. And you do it and you do it and you don't even think about doing it because it's just so ingrained almost in your body, right? For example, when you do a repetitive task, like for example, you wash your dishes. In the beginning, you try to do it. Then it becomes a habit. Then your body almost does it without you thinking about it, right? This is a hypnotic rhythm. And once the habit becomes a rhythm, then it's impossible to stop. And it's done by repetition. And this is chapter 6, hypnotic rhythm. The devil gets people into the habit of drifting using fear of death, mainly, and the fear of criticism to prevent people from helping others to become non-drifters. So oftentimes, when you're going to feel fear, this is a tool that the devil uses to help you drift, right? To help you be indecisive, right? Oftentimes when you don't know what decision to take, it's because you're afraid. The fear of death is the main weapon that he uses because no one knows, and by the very nature of the laws of the universe, no one can prove definitely what happens after death. This uncertainty frightens people out of their wits. People who give over their minds to fear, any sort of fear, neglect to use their minds and begin to drift. Eventually, they drift into the whirlpool of hypnotic rhythm from which they may never escape. Right? So the main fear that he uses on everybody is the fear of death. You're afraid of death, you don't want to risk anything, you don't want to put your life in danger, and so you stay in your comfort zone, right? And so you're indecisive, you don't know, should I do this? Maybe it's going to get me killed. Or maybe it's going to get me criticized, and the fear of criticism is going to prevent you from doing what you want. Religious leaders help the devil by causing people to fear him. So I wrote down to myself, we must not make people fear the devil. And oftentimes the best religious leaders, the best priests that I've encountered, they don't make you fear the devil, right? They don't make you feel I've never been to any sort of any church or anything like this because maybe I'm Catholic, right? And I think there's a lot of more Protestant, in the Protestant side of Christianity, I don't know what happens with my English here, but in with Protestants, they often have more these pastors that are just really try to make you afraid of the devil, right? And this is not useful, right? I'm not saying all, of course, but to me, I've never encountered a priest that was in my life. I went to church for a long time in my life, and I never had any fear of the devil. Now maybe at one point I was afraid, and it was because of all the representation of the devil, of the world, right? They create him this image of the cones and this monster, right? And I was afraid of that because of these images. But never I had encountered a priest that was like making me afraid. So I would to myself, you must not make people fear the devil, but just know about his way, and knowing with this that having faith in Jesus, this is what is protecting us against the devil. So we shouldn't be afraid, because we have Jesus on our side, and so he cannot gain control and gain anything against us, the devil. The devil said the time people spend in fearing something. When I'm saying this, of course, I'm saying that the Napoleon Hill is writing that the devil is saying, right? Just to make sure things are clear. The time people spend in fearing something would, if reversed, give them all they want in the material world and save them from me after death. The time people spent in fearing something would, if reversed, give them all they want in the material world and save them from me after death, right? So you must do as you were fearing absolutely nothing, right? And spend as little time as possible fearing anything, because fear, I think I talked about it in the previous episodes, is like a fire. It grows. The more time you let it, the more it grows. So you must cut it and just be decisive immediately. The devil loses grips on the non-drifters, the people that can think for themselves. The devil was not able to get Napoleon Hill into the habit of drifting into the whirlpool of hypnotic rhythm, because he started the habit of masterminding with his wife. His wife allowed him to be a better thinker. And I quote, "When you and your wife began to combine your two brains through your habit of masterminding every day, you stumbled upon the secret power with which you forced me into this confession." Right? This is the devil saying this to Napoleon Hill. And this is the quote of the Bible. "When two or more meet together and ask for anything in my name, it shall be granted." Right? There are a lot of things that join the Bible. And so, yeah, this was the first part of the notes I wrote down to myself. I have like 20 other more notes, but I'll have the time to go through it. If you're interested in the book, get it, read it. And if this episode was useful to you, share it with someone else. Do you think it might help? Like, subscribe, and subscribe right now to not forget to miss the next episode, and I'll see you in the next one. All right?